Thank you, Ms. Dean. I now recognize Mr. Self from Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think my colleagues are going to cover Ukraine and the major issues quite well. In the lead up to Vilnius, I want to go to former Yugoslavia. You have a potential flashpoint, Deputy Assistant Secretary Jones, in the Serbia-Kosovo area. And I think people need to realize it. From my time in NATO and the European Command in the 90s, during the multiple civil wars, there are some issues that have not been solved between Serbia and Kosovo. As you know, the Serbs basically boycotted the recent election. The Kosovars took their rightfully elected positions, and now we have a potential flashpoint between Serbia and Kosovo. Can you give me your opinion before I ask my questions?
So I agree with your assessment on the potential flashpoint, and certainly NATO has a long history in the Balkans. Regarding Serbia and Kosovo, we're engaged in intense diplomacy currently to urge both sides to de-escalate and return to the EU-facilitated dialogue, and we are supporting, as a way ahead, the EU's three-point plan, which is calling for de-escalation by both parties, new elections, this time with Kosovo-Serb participation, and also the normalization agreement implementation.
And you mentioned Bosnia-Herzegovina in your written testimony. You did not mention this at all. And let's go to this election, because the Serbs boycotted it, and I thought you would mention you wanted new elections. Why do you want new elections? Because when someone boycotts an election, when a side boycotts the election is held, duly held, and the people who win the election take office. Why would you ask for new elections? So
the plan, including new elections, was referring to elections in Kosovo, and which were boycotted by the
correct
Serbs and the Kosovo Serbs. So we have recognized that the mayors that were elected through a proper election. However, they have not been able to fully execute their duties, and in fact their attempt to move into their municipal office buildings is what has led to the violence. And so,
but that's my question. Duly elected mayors are trying to do their duty to move into the office buildings, and we are supporting a redo as opposed to supporting these duly elected mayors. Why is that?
So these mayors, due to the boycott, they were elected with an extremely low percentage.
That happens every day in America. We have local elections where we have 10% turnout, and we don't fight it because we have a low turnout.
Yeah, but it's led to large portions of the electorate feeling disenfranchised if they are at their own choice.
Correct.
They are willing to come back and vote, as we are urging them to. I think that would result in a more stable process and a more representative government that would help end the current conflict that we're seeing there.
The real problem I see is the State Department is trying to pull Serbia away from the Russian orbit. You're intervening in elections that were properly held. You're interfering with people who were properly elected to try to insert yourself into a millennia-old issue here, and you are upsetting a duly executed election. You're not going to pull Serbia out of the Russian orbit. You might as well let Kosovo. We have recognized Kosovo. I know a lot of people have not, a lot of countries have not, but we have recognized Kosovo. You need to, I encourage you to rethink your position on this Serbian-Kosovar conflict here, because you need to be standing for the rule of law, which is duly elected officials trying to do their duty. With that, I yield back.